have it, guys. There is Daniel Dubois clearly, blatantly shoving Don Charles. And you know this was the outside face-off between the two, when this is right after Daniel Dubois said, and the no, right? And after that, they faced forward towards the cameras, took the pictures, Don Charles behind him, supporting him, being his trainer, head trainer, as he thought. He turns around and shoves him. Like, get the fuck off me. What are you doing near me? I don't want you near me. Stay away from me. Let me through. Let me pass. That's what we saw. And based on what we saw, and based on what we know about Daniel Dubois, he is not a verbal person. He's not. He's one of those guys that's nonverbal. He's all tone, mostly. He's about 70% tone, 30% verbal. And it's not much of that, as you can see, is a comparison. 70-30 is not a good split. And that, what he did to Don Charles, was disrespectful. But it shows you that something else was going on. I don't know what was going on, but I can tell you this, and this is my prediction. If Dubois loses to Alexander Usyk a second time, Don Charles is gone. And this is the pre-game, okay? This is the preliminary. That's it. This is the preliminary proof right here that Don Charles is getting axed. He may get axed if he wins. I think this may be the least case scenario. This may be just Daniel Dubois just amped and, just kind of, antsy and, kind of eager. And he's kind of, you know what I mean? That makes you kind of aggressive, you know what I mean? But then who in the hell does that to their head trainer? Who does that to somebody that they've been training with? Nobody. Imagine Triple G doing that shit to Abel Sanchez. Imagine Canelo doing that to Eddie Reynoso. Imagine Joseph Parker doing that to Andy Lee. Imagine these guys, you see that shit, and you're like, what the fuck was that about? Imagine if you seen that. You'll wonder, like, the first thing you'll say, they ain't on good terms, bro. They are not on good terms. Something is going on with these guys. I don't know what they're beefing about. I don't know if it's Stan Dubois. I don't know if Stan got into it with Don Charles and then, you know what I mean? You don't know what's going on, but I can tell you something's going on, and that something ain't good, people. It ain't good at all. That shit, this is going where I believe it's going. And this is my prediction. You want to know what a prediction is? Daniel Dubois, I believe even if he beats Alexander Usyk, they're going to axe Don Charles. I think the best way, the only way Don Charles stays with Daniel Dubois and his daddy is if they win this fight. And that's maybe. Because like I said, he may still get his ass axed. Because what you saw was disrespect. It was blatant disrespect. Daniel Dubois didn't give a shit about them cameras. He didn't give a shit about Usyk or his team looking at what's going on over there. He didn't care about none of that. He get away from me. Get away from me. That's what he did. He did something kind of like Mike Tyson would do. Oh, obviously. Mike Tyson kind of gets, he kind of changes that mindset. And then now he's dangerous. And now he's like, oh shit, let me stay away from him. He's unapproachable. That's Daniel Dubois right there. That's Daniel Dubois right there. And I think, watch, look what we seen. This ain't fucking clickbait bullshit. Daniel shoved Don Charles after Don Charles has been coughing up, talking up, making a case for Daniel and Usyk round 5 for the last fucking 2 years. And I think, honestly, it has something to do with Stan, but I don't know. That's just me speculating because we've heard beef before. As you guys know, late last year, my boy Spencer, The Knowledge, came on the show and told us things about Stan Dubois in regards to Don Charles. And he begged Daniel Dubois to keep his job. You guys remember that, right? That was some real shit because, you know, it showed you that there is clear and present drama, okay? Dilemma between Stan and Don over some power trip of Danny Dubois. But whatever that wasn't Stan pushing him in there. That was Daniel pushing Don. So they must have some other total beef, maybe on top of what we already know. So this is big, people. I predict Don Charles to get axed after the fight between himself and Alexander Usyk. Tell me what you think. Please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!